No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the...
Blessings now upon each and every person here, all the ones we love, our communities, our counties, our state, our country.
Peggy mentioned Canoga. That is our yearly retreat put on by the Unity ministers of the Mid-Atlantic states. And sometimes there's confusion and people think it's only for ministers. It is not. It is open to the public, to everybody. We have people from Centers for Spiritual Living, from independent New Thought centers, from people that aren't necessarily involved in a New Thought church.
This is from a Unity Lenten booklet. Listen, my beloved. You are an expression of infinite possibilities. You are a radiant light and love without end.
Everyone to be busy with. He has made everything suitable for its time.
I am home, my family is here. I feel loved by the ones I hold so dear. And when my family needs me, I promise to be there.
Again, the importance of altars in our lives. Whatever you wish to call it. It could be a sacred corner, it could be a meditation room, but the physical reminders of how deep we can go when we are allowing ourselves that connection to spirit that's always there.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can hear the rush of angels' wings.
So today we're talking about views from the mountaintop. I do this every year after Canoga. Wisdom that I gleaned from the experience, ways of looking at things, and today we're calling it higher ground views from the mountaintop. So to me, it's all about getting a different perspective. We can look at things always from a higher perspective, I believe. Even if we're looking at it from a really high perspective, we can look at it from a higher perspective. There was a quote about a pebble from Eric Butterworth in his book, Celebrate Yourself. Picture a pebble. Well, do with your fingers what you think a pebble would be, about the size. Well, maybe. If you put it in front of your eye, so picture that, it fills your whole world, does it not? That little pebble right in front of your eye fills your whole world. Hold it at a proper viewing distance, and it can be examined and properly dealt with. Drop the pebble at your feet, and it becomes part of the gravel upon which you walk. So that pebble might be something we're dealing with, something troubling in our life. And when we hold it up close to our eyeball, it's just huge. It's hard to see beyond it. Maybe you gotta have two pebbles, and it's like, wow. Again, perspective. A little further out, you can see it. You can see the colors of it. You might appreciate it a little more and see some of the texture in it. Drop it to the ground and walk on it. What about if you were on the mountaintop and you dropped it down the mountain? It'd still be there, right? But way smaller, way smaller. When I first started in ministry and doing some counseling, I didn't have a lot of metaphors and little stories to help people with issues when they would come to me. But I did have two. One of them was the pink pig technique, which I no longer use because it's really odd. But I would say, okay, if something's troubling you or if some person in your life is seemingly bothering you, it's preempted. You turn them into a large stuffed animal, whether it's a pink stuffed pig or an elephant, and you give some distance between you and this thing, and then you give them a squeaky little voice that goes, I don't like what you did the other day. I know, and it's really funny, but I can't use it anymore because I really don't think it's in principle, because we don't go turning people into big stuffed things. But if it resonates with you, and it might just have, you feel free to use it. The other one, which was probably maybe a little more appropriate, is if we have a problem in life, to elevate ourselves to the moon and look down at beautiful planet Earth, maybe the person or the situation or the quote-unquote troubles that seem to be in your life, and viewed from that perspective, they become minute, do they not? And you've got that great distance between you and it, whatever it is. And better perspective, because you are on your path, and that's way down there. And the third one, which I used off and on, was from Shakti Gawain, who was one of the first metaphysical authors. And she had what she called a pink bubble technique, not to be confused with the pink pig technique. The pink bubble technique, if you have a concern or something on your mind, just like we let go of things in meditation, you put the concern, or it could be just something you want a lot. It doesn't have to be something you're trying to let go. It could be something you really want to see happen. But you bless it, you put it in a pink bubble, and you allow it to go. Up into the others, the cosmos, the whatever. Releasing it, knowing that all good will come to you, and anything that no longer serves you will float away. I hope you consider going to the retreat next year. If you want more videos, go to Christy Snow. It's CHRISTY Snow Facebook page. She posts a lot of videos about the band and the choir and a lot of the keynotes. And you really get a feel for this beautiful mountain setting. It's not high on a mountain, it's like a large hill, but there's a lake there, and it's Episcopalian Center. And there's 6 or 7 chapels in different places, including out in nature. I visited the St. Francis of Assisi chapel, and it was beautiful with a metal outdoor statue of St. Francis feeding the animals, and places to sit and to meditate, and a little stream going through there. Absolutely wonderful. But sometimes we can't go on retreat, and sometimes we do feel the need to get away. But consider having retreat time in your daily life or in your weekly life. An hour a day to retreat. Now this can get complicated because not just a little while ago we were talking about having an hour of silence every day, practicing the silence, which doesn't mean totally not talking, but it meant going quiet and only saying things when necessary. And we've also had hours in our day to do this or to do that or to meditate. So there could be probably at least 24 things that you could do an hour of every day. But consider an hour, when you can, of retreat time. What might that mean? No electronics. When I checked into my lovely room at the inn, first thing I looked for was the Wi-Fi code. Where's the Wi-Fi code? I gotta check. I gotta get my phone onto Wi-Fi, and then I need to get my laptop onto Wi-Fi, and then there's the tablet to get on Wi-Fi, and I'm looking around, and finally I find it in the back of one of their instruction booklets. And do you know what they said? In print. Do you really want to have this? And I went like, yeah. But it gave me pause because really, do we really need that much time? So even an hour a day, no Facebook, no political TV, none of that. Just retreat. And that can be very much like what we talked about, going into the silence once a day. It could be out gardening, it could be walking around the lake like it did, it could be walking around your neighborhood, it could be just sitting and petting your pet, your dog, your cat, hugging a child, looking at photographs, not on the phone, looking at photographs perhaps in an old album, taking time to meditate during part of that time, maybe humming a song. I read somewhere that you cannot think negative thoughts while you're humming. Interesting. Want to hum for a minute? You want to lead us in humming? I'm not going to say try to think of a negative thought because that would spoil the purpose of it, but you might want to practice that at home. So consider taking an hour to retreat. There were some key ideas at Canoga. We are born for these times. Kept coming up from various speakers, from the keynotes, from the musicians. We're born for these times. Not necessarily all happy, happy, joy, joy times, but these times, however you see them, you were born for this day, for your life, for all you can bring to it, for all that you receive out of it, for all that you see going on, for all your purposes. Also, what came up was our calling. What is your calling? What have you been called to do? And also, in a number of spots, the song, "How Could Anyone Ever Tell You You Were Anything Less Than Beautiful?" And Libby Roderick, I believe, an Alaskan woman in Alaska. That song has healed thousands of people across the world. They've used it in young people's retreats. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone ever tell you that your loving is a miracle? Thank you, David. How deeply you're connected to my soul. And I'm going to pause on that one, because as I was writing this out, I got the thought, that's wonderful, and it makes us think of perhaps our wounds or things that people have said to us, or people have judged us or seen us less than powerful or loving or beautiful. But you know what? It made me ask myself, how could I ever tell anyone in my whole life that they were less than beautiful, that they were less than whole, that they were less than holy, sacred beings walking on this planet? How could anyone, how could I ever tell anyone that? How could I ever think of anyone not deeply connected to my soul? And that helps me get through my days now when I see things I think I don't like. It's all divinely connected. I share this, Margaret, I'm sure you won't mind. At the leadership retreat in July, where the ministers and board leaders come together to learn, Margaret Hiller, who gave the keynotes here at Canoga, and she's the minister at Unity Myrtle Beach, came up to me and said, "Bronte, I would like you to be part of the presentation I give to the ministers on Tuesday morning. We get there a day early." She said, "I think of you as sort of our Unity poet here in the group, and I said, is something special?" And she said, yes, something about water and your blue kayak that you talk about. I said, I'll be delighted to do that. Fast forward 2-3 months to September, Margaret and David's home on Pawleys Island was threatened with 10 feet of floodwater, as was David Torres and Susan Torres, who moved there from Unity of Cumberlands and bought a house a block away from Margaret and David. And they, at the retreat, were concerned about this wall of water that was coming 15 days after the hurricanes. So when I went up to Margaret and I said, you asked me to write the poem, and she said, yes, and it was about water, wasn't it? I said, yes, it was, and I can alter it a little bit. So I did, and it didn't happen to have the time on Monday because we had 2 speakers from Unity headquarters, Unity Village, down to talk to us. We'll talk about that more in another day. So then it got changed to Wednesday morning and then Wednesday evening. I will read this to you in a moment, what I wrote. But we prayed. We prayed. And we didn't think a whole lot about floods and waters and danger. We just prayed. We saw their houses okay. We put more blessings on Unity of Wilmington, which was affected a bit, at least for attendance and not being able to open for several Sundays, and Unity Crystal Coast, which is up near the Atlantic Beach area, further north and right on the ocean. By the end of the week, warnings were still out there. Reverend Margaret and Reverend David went back to their houses on Friday night, and the floodwaters did not affect them, which we're very grateful for. It had nothing to do with my poem, but there was water in it. And another piece that I pulled out of my files for our talent show night, 2 pieces, randomly picked just by their dates. One mentioned hurricane and the other one mentioned flood. Now, go figure. But this is called These Times. Remember, we talked about work. There was one of our big topics. And we talked about your calling. And we talked about you were born for these times. This is a quote from Reverend Edwin Gaines at the retreat in April. What have you been called to do that you are not yet doing? What have you been called to do that you are not yet doing? And she says, all callings are from the divine. All callings are from the divine. And when we accept the callings, when we live in that place, we encourage others to do the same. What have you been called to do that you are not yet doing? Ponder that, if you will, in quiet waters, perhaps in a boat, on a pier, or by the shore. Waters may seem rough lately, intrusive, change-causing, busy, being water. For now, see them gentle. You will join me in this. See them gentle in your mind. Peace, be still. The waters of your life, indeed. Turn within. Riplets lick your boat's sides. They nudge the pier, they massage the shore, a rhythmic reminder of order, time, and place. What have you been called to do that you are not yet doing? In these safe waters of your mind, gently note any unwanted, shadow thought thing hanging out, acting out, shouting out, dishing out doubt, fear, reactiveness, complaints, or urging you to argue for your own limitations. Take note of anything in your mind that tugs or pushes you this way or that, or whispers, snarls, you don't have what it takes. You are not good enough. Reach into the corners of your mind to extract any snarly, gnarly stuff, any shadowy echoes. They are weakly rooted and loosely robed in that bully energy of, you can't budge me. But yes, you can. Pause here. Think of anything in your mind that you'd like to let go of. You can literally use your hand to pretend to pull it out, to drop it into the still waters. Anything that no longer serves you, drop it into the still water. Plop, plop, plop. You want to say that with me? Plop, plop, plop. Do you want to pretend to pull something out of your thoughts? Drop it in the water? 3 things. Plop, plop, plop. One more time. I got some up there. Plop, plop, plop. They won't pollute, they'll dissipate. They lose their strength when we don't carry them, visit them, honor them, embrace them, or fear them. Peace, be still. We let them go. They leave no stain. The water claims, disperses them into the womb of recreation. We draw peace, balance, well-being from the water. We send peace, balance, well-being back. The water whispers. cool. The water whispers, or is that God? You are incredible, brilliant, beautiful, powerful, creative, full of grace. You radiate love. We whisper that back. You radiate love. You radiate love. You radiate love. Yes, you were born for these times in the service of something greater than the self, that exists in the self and that expands the self. You were born to let your divinity shine. You, thought leaders, way showers, healers, seekers, loving kindness beings, inner Christness seeing, as you light the way with others for others, you create a path of joy and well-being. You were born to let your divinity shine for these moments, these days, experiences, relationships, every one of them born for this time. For the callings you've already answered and the callings you have yet to claim. What have you yet to claim? You were born for these times. What have you been called to do that you have not yet done? You know, or the answer will come.
And faith will get me over that mountain. It's nothing I can see, but it's guiding me over that mountain. To a better place I must believe. Send my love.
See that love radiating out?
Over the mountain.
Returning back to us.
I send my love.
Radiating out. Returning back.
Over the sea. I send my love.
Feel that love going out.
Into the heaven.
Your love. Touching others, touching our world.
It returns.
See blessings on all the names on our prayer list and our prayer box.
It returns to me.
Feel that love, your love going out.
And it
Return to you,
to me.
as does everything you give out, multiplied abundantly.